Netflix to acquire Warner Brothers following the separation of Discovery Global for a total enterprise value of almost $83 billion. Basically, Netflix came out and said, hey, we would like to purchase all of Warner Brothers except for Discovery. Because if you didn't know, Warner Brothers a little while ago announced they're going to separate into streaming and studios, which is what Netflix is buying, and they're splitting into global networks, which includes CNN, TNT Sports, US, and Discovery, which is basically all the profitable stuff. Everything else is unprofitable for the most part. Netflix threw out a bid, $27.75 per share of Warner Brothers Discovery. Currently, the stock is trading at $68 billion, or $27.78 a share, and the reason why they're trading at a higher share price is because this morning, Paramount, which is a company owned by the Ellisons, has launched a $108.4 billion counterbid for Warner Brothers Discovery. The streaming giant had emerged victorious on Friday from a weeks-long bidding war with Paramount and Comcast, securing a $72 billion equity deal for Warner Brothers Discovery TV, film studios, and streaming assets. This offer, which is worth $82.7 billion including debt and comes with a $5.8 billion breakup fee from Netflix, which is insanity, is likely to face strong antitrust scrutiny, which we'll talk about that in a second. Paramount submitted multiple offers starting in September to forge an entertainment powerhouse capable of challenging Netflix and tech giants such as Apple that have expanded into media but faced rejections. That followed reports that Warner Brothers management called the Netflix deal a slam dunk while speaking negatively about Paramount's offer. Analysts and industry experts see Paramount as the best candidate for acquiring Warner Brothers Discovery, given Ellison's deep pockets. Offer provides superior value and a far more certain and quicker path to completion to WBD shareholders. Equity to be backstopped by Ellison Family and Redbird Capital, in addition to debt fully committed by Bank of America, Citi, and Apollo. Netflix transaction provides WBD shareholders with an inferior and uncertain value, a protracted and uncertain multi-jurisdictional regulatory clearance process, a complex and volatile mix of equity and cash. This is not true. This is a lie. It's not complex. Netflix didn't offer like a portion of their share. They said you get this much in cash and then you get exactly this much per share. They didn't offer like 0.01% of a Netflix share. This is a bit misleading. It's not complex. It's not really that volatile either. And ownership of global networks as a standalone over-leveraged company whose future trading value is uncertain. So Netflix just wants to buy the streaming and studios assets of Warner Brothers Discovery, and then they want to get rid of the networks. Paramount is offering to buy the whole company and to buy it immediately. They want to close this transaction quickly, like Q1 of next year. David Ellison, chairman and CEO of Paramount, said WBD shareholders deserve an opportunity to consider our superior all-cash offer for their shares in the entire company. Our public offer, which is the same terms we provided to the Warner Brothers Discovery board of directors in private. Warner Brothers Discovery, they already got this offer in private. Paramount's just making it public now. But they're like, hey, why not go with us, Paramount, a $15 billion company, is offering to buy Warner Brothers Discovery for $100 billion. Something ain't right here, I think. Okay, so I read a really interesting theory. The day Larry Ellison lost and won, what really happened at Warner Brothers? Netflix acquiring one of the oldest studios in Hollywood is huge, but here's why I can't stop thinking about it. While everyone's focused on what Netflix is buying, nobody's paying attention to what they're not buying, and who's positioned to pick up those pieces, because on December 4th, the day before Netflix's big win got announced, Larry Ellison's net worth had just surged $5.2 billion in a single day. One day before he publicly lost Warner Brothers, the man got $5.2 billion richer. The Oracle rally traced back to December 1st. That's when Deutsche Bank reiterated its buy rating on the stock, calling it an attractive entry point given recent weakness. Except Oracle has been sluggish for months. No earnings surprise that week, no major contracts, nothing that would make a bank suddenly remind everyone Oracle's a buy. And yet, Deutsche Bank picked December 1st, the exact day final bids were due in the Warner Brothers Discovery auction. I watched the Paramount Skydance merger closely in 2024. Larry Ellison's been on my radar for a while, and when his son was acquiring Paramount, I wanted to understand exactly how they structured it. So I made a spreadsheet of all their special vehicle holdings. Pinnacle Media Ventures 1, 2, and 3. I tracked every special purpose vehicle they used. If they want to understand how billionaires move, you don't watch what they say, you watch what they file. 3 entities stood out. All filed on the same day, June 28th, 2024. 9 days later, the Paramount Skydance deal was announced. Pinnacle Media Ventures is the umbrella structure Larry Ellison creates with LLCs beneath them for David's direct investments. So Larry Ellison is going out and creating special special purpose vehicles that he is using to fund his son's media empire, basically. So I figured if the Ellisons were planning to acquire Warner Brothers, they'd probably use the same structure. Pinnacle Media Ventures number 4 filed on December 1st of 2025. The same day, final bids were due. Also the same day, Deutsche Bank upgraded Oracle. Very convenient. Because these two things suggest opposite conclusions, filing a new acquisition entity suggests confidence. You don't create that infrastructure unless you're expecting to use it. But if they already knew they were losing Warner Brothers, why file it at all? Unless Pinnacle Media Ventures 4 isn't for Warner Brothers. Unless it's for something else. The TLDR is that Netflix isn't buying the cable networks. The deal structure requires Warner Brothers Discovery to spin off CNN, TNT, TBS, and Discovery Networks into a separate company called Discovery Global before Netflix can close the deal. So if the Ellisons' real target is CNN, why didn't they just wait? The original plan was for WBD to spin off Discovery Global in April of 2026. Why force an early auction with an unsolicited bid in October? Unless April 2026 is too late. Too late for what? Well, 2026 happens to be one of the most consequential election years we've had in a while. Texas, Arkansas, North Carolina primaries hit as early as March 3rd. Every House seat, a third of the Senate, and by the end of spring, the primary narrative is set. If Discovery Global doesn't spin off until April, whoever buys CNN gets it after the primaries are effectively decided. Too late to shape anything that matters. But if someone could accelerate the timeline to Q1, CNN could change hands before March. And this is the theory. Here's what the Netflix deal accomplishes. It forces Discovery Global to spin off the same separation that was going to happen anyway, but now under regulatory scrutiny with deal pressure and potentially making the spin-off network available sooner. If Paramount's hostile posturing creates enough uncertainty around Netflix's deal, the fastest way to resolve it might be to accelerate the spin-off and let Ellison take the cable networks cleanly. The threat of a hostile bid creates urgency. It creates regulatory complications. It creates pressure to resolve the structure quickly, which means accelerating the spinoff. The reason why Larry Ellison is doing this incredibly competitive bid is because they just want the other networks, which makes a lot of sense, I think. And going back to Netflix, the Trump admin views Netflix and Warner Brothers deal with heavy skepticism. On Thursday, the Wall Street Journal reported that Paramount, in a letter to lawyers for WBD, had warned that a sale to Netflix likely would never close because of regulatory challenges in the United States and overseas. So we have an incredibly lax regulatory system so long as it's not someone that the president is directly involved with. An absolute shocker. All we know is that Warner Brothers Discovery is winning in the end. And so we're going to see what happens. I tend to agree with the idea that the Paramount Skydance offer isn't a serious offer, and I actually don't even think that it would be a good business combination. I think Netflix has more reason to buy Warner Brothers Discovery than Paramount Skydance. I get it. Scooby-Doo is one of the greatest franchises of all time, and there are two giant companies that are spending hundreds of billions of dollars trying to buy that franchise. Personally, if I had $100 billion, I would also try and buy the Scooby-Doo franchise. It's going to be interesting to see where things go from here. Netflix can very easily put up the money for this. They have $9 billion in cash. They have $29 billion in total debt. So they take out like $80 billion in debt to finance this deal. They're good for it. Meanwhile, Paramount Skydance, their free cash flow has gone negative in their most recent period, and they've had very inconsistent free cash flow. They do not have the revenue. They do not have the cash flow. They certainly don't have the cash, the actual cash on hand. They only have $3 billion in cash on hand, which is 3 times less than what Netflix has. Netflix has the cash flow in order to sustainably own this company. If Paramount Skydance goes out and they win this WBD merger, this company is doomed. My final thoughts, I don't think Paramount Skydance is serious with this offer. I think that they're just trying to speed up the spinoff process because Paramount Skydance wants to acquire the mainline networks from Warner Brothers Discovery, and they're just going to let Netflix have everything else. That's basically where the story ends for now. So currently Warner Brothers has a lot of people clamoring to own the business for all sorts of different reasons. If there's a big update, I will make another video on this. I still think that Warner Brothers Discovery is probably going to stick with Netflix. If you enjoyed the video, subscribe, come hang out live.